Alright, I'm making this video for everyone who's still debating on whether or not to get Destiny 2 Final Shape, because before the launch, there was definitely a lot of drama surrounding Final Shape, so if you're still on the fence, I don't blame you. But I will say, my personal opinion, playing thousands of hours of Destiny 2, both on console and PC, this is by far the best expansion Bungie has ever released. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that. Now, there was issues on day one, but this is Bungie. There's always issues on day one for everything. That's to be expected. If you expect anything less, I just think you're playing the wrong game. But anyways, the the campaign was by far the most enjoyable solo legend campaign I've done in the history of Destiny 2. Uh, the campaign was, in my opinion, better paced than all the others, and Witch Queen was a pretty good gold standard, being the toughest campaign. Lightfall was... We all know Lightfall was a little shit. Forcing you to use Strand. Not a lot of people wanted to use Strand. And overall, it was a mix mash of just doing random shit at times. There wasn't a single moment in the campaign that I thought, ooh, this is a little cringy, or ooh, like, this is AIDS, and I really hope they change this. There was definitely those moments in the other Legendary campaigns. I'll give you an example. Lightfall obviously had Nimbus and Rohan. If you've never heard of them, I don't blame you, because they're that forgettable. And they were just annoying NPCs that were never... Rohan was kind of serious, but he died very early, and no one really cared. There wasn't any reasons to really care about Rohan. And then Nimbus is just annoying because he's joking all the time, and then he baby rages like he's a 12-year-old. So it's just two terrible characters that were just very annoying. Witch Queen's moments where I was just like, man, I really hope they change this, was the boss fights. A lot of the missions ended up having boss fights, and a lot of the boss fights ended up being do damage, then run and do a mechanic, then do damage, and then run and do a mechanic, and then do damage to finish off the boss, and then it would just rinse and repeat, where it's just like, do this really annoying mechanic, and then do 1/3 of the health, do another annoying mechanic, 1/3 of the health. It was just like annoying and tedious, and then you would die to a curse thrall that spawned right below you that you couldn't control. It was just annoying as fuck. Final Shape definitely had moments like that, where there were kind of annoying-ish moments. The Hydra room, where there's a boss Hydra and there's absolutely no cover, that kind of speaks to my mind. But other than that mission, most of them felt really well done and well thought out. They were all like, we went to previous areas that players have experienced, but they were able to put a twist on it that made it feel very unique. And I know that was the advertisement, but I'll be the first to admit that when I saw, oh, we're going to reskinned areas, okay, well, this is just going to be shit, because we're relying on nostalgia here. There was a hint of nostalgia in some areas, but for the most part, it felt like you were exploring a brand new zone or a brand new area. Also, the destination is fucking massive. It feels like the biggest destination they have ever done by far. It's not even close. And it feels good, to be honest. You don't have to go to most of it if you're planning on, like, getting all the collectibles and everything, which they basically brought back calcified fragments. A beloved destination item where you can just go around, and then they call them feathers now, but it's the same concept. You would go around and collect them all. I'm glad they have stuff like that for, like, the endgame players who play 12 hours a day, and they just sit on patrol having fun, like the good old Warmind days. But overall, destination, pretty good. The campaign, pretty good. I don't have much to complain about. The dialogue is something I was very concerned about going into Final Shape, because the dialogue in Lightfall was terrible. I think we can all admit to that. There was just not really any moments where I was like, wow, that's amazing, you know what I mean? The cutscenes are a different story. The cutscenes in Lightfall were, and in my opinion, this might be a hot take, but I think the cutscenes in Lightfall were actually one of the best cutscenes in Destiny, except for maybe the final one. The scene where, like, Callus is talking to the Witness, and Witness is just like, "Shut up, little bro," and fucking cracks the screen. There's some sick moments in Lightfall as far as the cutscenes go, but the Final Shape cutscenes blow these out of, it blows everything out of the water. And I was a firm believer that, the Taken King had the best cutscenes, and it had the best story campaign to date, and I didn't think anything would be able to match it. I thought Final Shape was probably going to be like a 5, maybe 6 out of 10 story. A little bit better than Lightfall, but probably not as good as Witch Queen. I was completely shook, I'll be honest. This campaign, story, dialogue, everything, and the cutscenes all meshed so well together. I am truly under the belief now that this is as close as you can get to a perfect Destiny campaign. It was very well paced, solo friendly, the dialogue was great, the characters were great, they didn't oversaturate everything with just nostalgia for all the old players who used to play and they're like, "Oh my god, that's the Cosmodrome again." It was way more than that. Everything was just so fucking good. And I'll be the first one to admit when there's typically problems in campaign. Like, I remember thinking, I was one of the first people in my whole group that thought, like, Lightfall was fucking terrible, and everyone was glazing the shit out of it. But, hey, it is what it is. You like what you like. I do think that if you have not bought Final Shape, and you're more of like a, I'm gonna play this game for like 20, 30 hours, whatever, and then be done with it. If you just play the campaign and the missions after the campaign for like some more content, I think you'll be satisfied. I truly actually think that $50 is justified for the campaign. It is a fantastic story, to be honest with you. I can't glaze it enough, to be honest. It's just that good. It blew me out of the water that much. With the plot twists and everything near the end of it, and the potential sacrifice that some characters need to make. It was quality. I don't want to delve too much into it with spoiling too much, so, spoiler warning right here. I'm gonna say that I was blown away by the Zavala missions, basically. I thought the first mission where we found him near his home was cool. However, he was just sitting there behind a rally barricade the whole time. I don't know what the fuck that was about. Make him do something, Bungie? Come on. But anyways, outside of that, him essentially being coerced by the Witness, and then his ghost basically stepping in to sacrifice himself so that Zavala could get a chance to escape, I thought was very well done, and I'm very happy that they went this route rather than, having Zavala betray us or something. I thought it was really, really well done. Ikora also didn't feel like a force. Ikora in every single campaign has always just sat basically on a chair when the whole squad's been doing everything, and she'll just tell us what to do or blah blah blah. She definitely had more of an impactful role, especially meeting Cade, especially talking to Zavala and being like, "Yo, you need to, calm down there, bud." And Cade, I thought, was going to be overused way too much in the story, and I thought it was going to be, feel almost forced, and that, hey guys, Cade is back, just shoved down my throat. I'm very glad to admit that this was not the case. And Cade felt like who Cade should have been. Crow felt like a perfect successor to Cade as the Hunter Vanguard. I'll be the first to admit, I've originally thought for maybe the first year or two, Crow becoming a good guy is one of the worst decisions they could make, because it just made no sense, and, terrible character, all this other shit. But I will say Bungie's done a great job of redeeming Crow, making him look like a Hunter Vanguard responsible person, and to make players genuinely care about Crow now, because I've been seeing a lot of people care about the cutscenes with Crow. The cutscene with him when he first finds Cade is also pretty fucking amazing, where they're having like a shootout and everything using hunter abilities. That was cool. Now, the new enemy type being Grim, I know it's, in a way, it's technically still a previous enemy type we've had, being that there are still Scions, and Tormentors are part of it, but the rest of them feel extremely unique, and one of my favorites by far is the Grim. It's the flying bats that go around suppressing you. I think their mechanics are sick. I think they're a great enemy in the game. I'm happy there's an actual like flying enemy. They feel like the harder, beefier versions of every other normal faction. Like, I think a good example is that the melee one, I forget what their name is, but basically when you kill them they spawn a wisp unless you killed them with a crit on their stomach. They kind of feel like a beefed up version of the Scorn when they're like running at you and fucking swinging their mallet at you, and they leave that fire AoE. Well, this time around, this melee enemy will throw a thing at you, and if you're standing still like a dumbass, you'll just die, because it does this AoE that kind of just stays there, I think, until you pretty much fucking die. They feel very difficult to go against, especially in like higher tier activities, which I think is good. You know, it's not like you're fighting a bunch of Taken Scions and it's like, alright, now I use volatile rounds, or now I use incandescent or something, and just have everything fucking die in one shot. This is a little bit more, okay, if I'm using AoE, well, I gotta worry about the wisps now following me, and now there's flying enemies, so I can't really rely on, you know, the AoE fucking grenade launchers and stuff like that, as much as you used to be able to. And then obviously there's the Tormentors, and I forget what they're called, but they're the tall boys. There's the Stasis boy, and then there's a Strand boy. Really cool enemies. I will say they're a little overtuned in higher tier content, especially on contest mode. The Strand guy being able to one-shot you with his attack that he spams a million times is absolutely horseshit in my opinion. But he technically spawns, I'm more or less referring to contest mode in the raid, more or less spawns when you make a mistake, so I guess the punishment is you risk getting one shot. So I get it, but I do think in maybe Grandmaster Nightfalls and stuff, if they are common, they might be a bit overtuned, and I'd like to see a little bit more of a chance to survive against them. I think the Stasis one is pretty well balanced. I do think it's kind of wall hack, or it's kind of bullshit that he can just summon ice walls, or ice, whatever they're called, crystals, and then just shatter them at will. I get the point. It's supposed to get you away from cover, and to me it seems like there's a limited range they have, so they can't spam it. So, you know, they feel very strong, which is good, because we've needed a strong faction for a long time, and they are supposed to represent the Witness's army, so it kind of just makes sense, on top of like Taken and the Scorn, you know what I mean? But overall, very, very well done for the enemy design. Grim, by far my favorite. I think it'd be cool to have like a Grim statue or pet or something in the game from something. I don't know, just some ideas. The Hive gaining, this is still spoilers by the way, the Hive in this DLC, I guess, were very cool. Now, the Lucent Brood and Savathun, you know, them being there was kind of like a, ugh, great, I gotta go another fucking expansion with fucking Hive everywhere. But I'm really happy that we're getting more life in the Hive. Because for so long it's basically Hive follow our ruler, and the Hive kill things to give to the ruler, and then that will make the ruler stronger. It definitely seems nowadays, as far as lore goes, the Hive are basically becoming their own people. There's one Hive wizard you meet in a Lost Sector, I can't remember their name, but they basically speak like a broken English, but, you know, it seems like it's Hive learning English in a way. And basically confirm that like some Hive just think differently than other Hive now, and that might be a result of the light. And we might end up seeing a lot more allied hive in the coming echoes or episodes or whatever the fuck they call them. So that seems pretty interesting. I'm a big fan of all the factions coming together to fight the Witness, and I'm a really big fan of having allied other factions. Like, I think it's so cool that you can go to the tower and you can see Fallen, you can see Cabal, and I'm assuming you're going to be able to see Hive soon once we ally with a Hive. But it's very, very interesting the way they're taking the narrative with all the enemies. Definitely seems like they're trying to get all the factions under one banner. And the universe, it's kind of interesting to see the universe start from, you know, humans, Awoken, Exo, all good guys because we're Guardians, everything else is bad, to now be more of like, all the factions are pretty much neutral, and some want to help us, and the others, you know, want us dead. So it's very interesting to see the start of Destiny being so black and white, and now it is actually gray, where, you know, we're making allies like Mizrax and Keitel, and I will say, Keitel and Zavala's dialogue are fucking amazing. I ship them, to be honest. I know that's a little cringe, but I'm saying it anyways, because their dialogue is just, it's so good to listen to them conversate with each other. But anyways, moving on past my fanfiction. Yeah, the factions gaining sentient, or the Hive gaining sentience, very good for the Destiny universe, and it seems like Destiny's really taking their time weaving a universe, not just like this is light versus dark. They're doing a good job with like, this is the Destiny universe. Potentially in Destiny 3 we could see, you know, maybe we get control over factions or something. I don't know, just some ideas. Maybe we get a game where we play as one of the factions. Some cool ideas. Other than that, the final mission, the very, very final mission, I thought was very well done. I think when you try to load it for the first time, it says 12 players, which would have been very cool, but it's only 6. At least it was only 6 for me. Maybe it's different. I thought the final mission where we used the ghost to kill the Witness was a very neat idea. And then Cade giving his light to essentially revive our ghost is very cool. However, from what it seemed like, it might be the Traveler is just a ghost. The final cutscene where Cade is in the, I guess we're in the light or something. It seems like the Traveler's just a ghost who sends out other ghosts. I mean, it is what it is. Pretty cool, though. The fact that we got to see the Traveler, I mean. But the Witness being dead, and now echoes are everywhere, definitely leaves more for a narrative masterpiece from the writing team on Destiny 2's, or on Bungie's team. It seems like they still have passion for the game. It seems like they still have plans with these echoes. The echoes so far seem pretty cool, but I am going to get a little concerned if we go into next year and all we're doing is going to previous destinations. Very cool that we're exploring Nessus again. Very cool that we're exploring wherever Fickrel's going to be. I assume we might even go back to Tangled Shore and meet Spider again and stuff like that. And then the Dreadnought, obviously. But I'd like to see us expanding a little bit more now that the Witness is gone and now we can sort of expand the solar system. I will say, big red flag from Bungie. I'm very concerned about the third Echo they announced, saying that if you like the coil, you're gonna like this. That's essentially what they said. The coil was one of the worst activities I think Destiny's ever introduced, and I truly mean that. I would rather play Reckoning over coil any day of the week. It was so shit. One-shotting traps, long respawn timers. It was terrible. It was bad. Bungie, please change the activity. I don't know what it is. Change it right now, please. The raid, which I'm sure a lot of endgame players are interested in, if you're coming from an MMO player space, or maybe you just really like Destiny raiding and want to get back into it. Raids have all been tuned up, so they're not going to be, you look at an enemy, they die, you actually are probably going to have to use your brain for most of the encounters, at least to stay alive. Of course, there's still going to be ribbon cheeses and stuff like that, but it definitely seems harder. It's going to be a lot easier to tell good players from bad players now, during encounters, you know, because there's a lot of people who get carried in raids, and I feel like that's kind of become a bit of a problem in Destiny, where, at least from my perspective as a solo player going into LFG groups, you know, a lot of people are just stupid. And maybe that's just my experience, but it seems like there's a lot of people who get carried in raids and they have raid clears and they still have no idea how to raid works. Most of the tuned up raids seem to have fixed this, especially Last Wish. The new raid is definitely the hardest raid they've ever done. I have not completed it yet. I've only done the first encounter. I've watched a little bit of the other encounters through streams and contest mode and stuff like that. Definitely is a raid where everyone is going to need to pick up their own pace, and you cannot fall behind. Obviously, there's going to be like revives if you make a mistake, blah blah blah. But if you're looking for a challenge, it's definitely going to be the hardest one. Master is probably going to be even harder than Contest, so pretty excited for when Master releases. It also seems like they're still doing quality of life updates here and there, so if you haven't played Destiny in a long time, you'll probably come back and there'll be a lot of brand new stuff. The buffs moving from the left side of your screen to now above your super, and then also having the current debuff or whatever raid mechanic in the top middle of the screen is really nice. Very easy to explain to new players. Overall, just as the expansion, if you're buying the game, or sorry, if you're buying the expansion and we're just rating the expansion, I genuinely, truly believe that this is as close to a 10 out of 10 as you could get. Now, I haven't mentioned Prismatic at all. I think Prismatic is really good for solo play, but I think it's pretty not great for group play. And what I mean by that, I played Hunter, and the Hunter grenade just sucks ass. And to keep Prismatic going, you need kills, and if other people are getting kills, it's obviously going to be hard to keep up your Prismatic. So, it's a cool mechanic, but it's definitely more for like solo play, or like you have no ammo and you just need to, you know, clear a room of ads or something. So, seems pretty cool. The new supers, the Titan one definitely seems cool. Warlocks getting the Radiance is also very nice. It seems like a lot of Warlock mains are enjoying it. The Hunter super is definitely for PvP. It really sucks in PvE. It's a struggle to basically do any boss with that super, but it does have niche cases where, you know, you take too much damage, you can teleport away, do a spinny dash, stuff like that. Overall, I do think this expansion was as close to a 10 out. If you don't want to say it's 10 out of 10, you basically have to give it a 9 out of 10. It's the best expansion Bungie's ever done. And I rate Taken King very, very highly. Even higher than Witch Queen, to be honest with you. I think the main damning thing with Witch Queen was them reworking mods, and a lot of the quality of life stuff wasn't really quality of life. So, with all that said, a overarching review is that if you're interested in Destiny's story, or you're concerned about Destiny's story, I would say you have nothing to be concerned about, and I would definitely say this story is the best story you could play in Destiny. If you're worried about quality of life and you're like, nah, there's a lot of stuff I didn't enjoy about Destiny, it added a bunch of quality of life stuff, and if you haven't played it in a while, there's going to be even more that you might have missed out on. And the supers and the builds are all crazy now. It's very much like a pretty much play your own way or build your own way kind of meta right now, you know? Like, obviously there's the Celestial Nighthawk Hunters, but you can kind of run anything as long as you can get those numbers up and everything. It's very nice. It's very build diverse meta we're in. I'm sure there's probably some stupidly broken fucking builds out there, but it's Destiny. It's not fucking, you know, hardcore fucking one life run anything. It's literally just do a required amount of damage during raids, or if you PvP is probably a fucking mess. I can't imagine PvP's balanced right now. I haven't even touched it. To be honest with you, I don't take Destiny 2 as a serious PvP game, so I don't really care. But if you are a PvE person and you're interested in space shooting, because there hasn't been any sci-fi games recently that have interested you, I definitely recommend taking Destiny 2 for another run. Even if you want to play free-to-play for a little bit and then, you know, test out the waters, maybe get 2 or 3 hours, and if you're not enjoying it, it is what it is. But yeah, with all that said, just wanted to make a review for the expansion. Had a lot of grinding, a lot of sleepless nights, but I'm glad it's finally here. I'm glad Destiny 2 is finally back, and yeah, hope to see you guys in the LFG.